Hello and happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday. I am Darcy Loma and I'm here today with Supermom, Lori. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lori.
I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to get to talk to you again. I feel like we were talking right before this and saying that it feels like yesterday that we talked, but it's really been like 6 months that we had our conversation. And so I'm just so excited to get to chat again.
Yeah, so I was on Lori's podcast and I loved her. And I was like, we need to bring her to the Thoughtfully Fit world so that we can, and there's so many different directions we could go with this conversation because you look at and your specialty is being able to help moms who are tired and searching for that elusive work-life balance. And I'm like, yeah, target market. Right here. And yet, as I read through your stuff and connect with you, I realize it's not only just for moms, it's for people. And I'd love to have you just share, how did you get to where you are at this point, where you are putting out this amazing content in the world on being a supermom?
Absolutely. So I decided to write the book because of COVID. So COVID happened and parents were struggling and moms were really struggling. And I could see that there were some moms that were doing things well and some moms and not struggling, but struggling far less than some of the other moms that were really kind of falling apart. Right. And so I said, what are these moms doing? What are the moms doing that are getting it right, or getting it right, or at least getting it right some of the time? And so I surveyed and interviewed almost 200 moms. And there were some themes that started to come out. And so I wrote the book, Secrets of Supermom, because these 16 secrets, these 16 themes just started to repeat themselves. And so I put the book together and it's been out in the world. My book birthday was just this week. So it's been 1 year that it came out.
And congratulations.
Thank you. It's been amazing. It's been so much fun. And it's really been, I think, a great impact. But I think you're right that it's not just for moms, right? These tactics can really be used for anyone. My passion is with moms because I am a mom. I'm a mom of 4. My passion is with moms because early in my career, I worked with moms. So my very first job out of college, I was a substance abuse counselor, and I worked with pregnant and parenting moms at a rehab facility. So they lived there, their children lived there. And I just, I wasn't a mom yet. And I was so passionate about moms that it's just never really left me. Anytime I have a chance to work in research with moms, to commiserate with moms, to come together with moms, it's just been so powerful to me. So it's really the path that I feel like I should be on.
I mean, it's like, as you're talking, not only did you do research, now contemporary research, but also your whole history you saw, and I'm imagining we're watching and seeing some moms who were in some pretty extreme circumstances and seeing how they navigated and coped with that well, and maybe those who didn't do it so well.
Yeah. I mean, I worked with women who were substance abusing. And so there were women that had been in abusive situations, women that had been in incredibly painful situations, women that had done unbelievable things to their children and felt terrible about it and had to come to terms with that and be able to live, with their children, to work with their children, and to communicate with their children. So it was a really powerful way to start a career and to feel like this is something that we need to do. Moms struggle, right? Not all moms are to the point where they're substance abusing, but we're all to the point where we have something that, some edge that we get to. And we, whether that's we hit the edge of burnout, or we hit the edge of frustration, or we hit the edge of something. And we have to get to the point where we can have a good conversation, where we can work on ourselves, or we can feel that we can be to a good point and get past that and be able to live, our best lives, because we deserve it. We deserve it.
Yeah. And so there's like 63 different directions we could go. and where I think what might be interesting to explore is one of the things that makes parenting really hard is having tough conversations. And we always try to ground our Thoughtfully Fit Thursdays in one of the 6 practices of Thoughtfully Fit. And so we thought we'd take a look at balance. Like, how do you balance? What do you want and need with what I want and need? And so I'm going to just kick it off and ask you, if we dive into tough conversations, what's a tough or really hard conversation that you've had to have?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and Darcy, I mean, I have to tell you, because I've read your book, because I got to interview you, I know some of the hard conversations you've had, right? And it feels like, I want to say this out loud because it feels like everything pales in comparison when I think, okay, what's my hard conversation that I've had? And I bet that listeners, right, like people that are listening right now are thinking, yeah, I mean, in comparison, mine don't mean anything. But I want everyone to know that your hard conversation's your hard conversation. You're like, just because somebody else's you can't even imagine having doesn't mean that the conversation that you had, I'm getting chills right now. The conversation that you had didn't give you those chills, didn't give you that discomfort, didn't make you want to throw up a little bit, didn't make you cry, didn't make you yell, didn't make you whatever. It still was yours. And you still had to take all the steps that, that I had still had to take, the steps that you probably had to take to get to the point to have the conversation and to get through it without feeling like you were going to crumble. And so one of mine, I certainly have had hard conversations at work, hard conversations at home. And one of mine is a conversation I think probably a lot of us have gone through, and that was a loss of a pet. So we had a dog who was 11, but we thought she would live a little longer, many years longer. And she got a heart tumor. And so we had to decide that it was her time to go, and we had to tell that to our children. And I'm not a big crier. I am very joyfully emotional, but I am not sad emotional very often. And so I don't cry in front of my children very often. They don't see me cry very often. And so I didn't want to startle them. And I also wanted them to know that it was okay if they were really sad, like that we could be really sad together. So it was really just, I had to think really hard about how am I going to have this conversation with them, to tell them what's happening, to let them know that it's okay to be sad, to let them say goodbye, and to also let us come together and be sad together and have that be okay, and not have it be something where I say, okay, now no more crying. Now we have to forget about her and we move on. That felt disingenuous to me. And so I needed to be able to have that conversation with them. So I had to think about it a lot. We had the conversation this experience while the kids were at school. And I really had to think, okay, how are we going to do this before I move forward? And they came home and we had to have that conversation. So, we got to say goodbye. And then after it happened, we got to talk to them again about it. And we got to just sit and cry. And we read the Rainbow Bridge story, and we did, all the things. And I feel like coming out of it, that was such a powerful moment for us to have that high emotion together, and to know that we were there for each other and that we were going to come through on the other side. And that even if it continued to be sad for us day after day, week after week, that we were going to take care of each other. And so I just feel like that was so hard, but also so valuable to us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I mean, anybody who has lost a pet knows how emotional it is. And I will never forget, when I was growing up, my dad was a principal and then a superintendent of schools. And I will never forget him saying, don't get a pet when you have babies, when your kids are born. And I'm like, why, Dad? He's like, because then when your kids are 11, 13, 15, 17, right in that age of puberty, and the world is hard and they're trying to figure out how to be independent, but they're not adults, their pet dies. And it's just too much. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought about the psychology of when to get a family pet. So I heard a lot that you shared there. And in particular, one of the things I heard is like, don't go into this place of toxic positivity. Like, it's okay, we'll get another pet. And so I'm wondering if you could draw out, what are some of the things that supermoms do that help them to handle those hard conversations?
Yeah, I think if you have the opportunity to stop, right? So I had the opportunity to talk to my vet and then be able to wait till they got home from school. So I had that luckily had that choice, right? Where I had some time to think about how I was going to have the conversation. And I think in a lot of cases, we have that choice. Even when we feel like we don't, we can step back and say, I'm not ready to have this hard conversation right now. I need some time to think, right? So no matter what it is, we can back up and we can take some time to think about it, because what I wanted was to have it in a way that felt good for me, but not have it in a way that was panicky to my children. So same thing if I'm having a hard conversation at work. I don't want to panic my team. I don't want to freak out my team, but I still need to be able to say the things. So if I have the opportunity to take those minutes, then I want to be able to do that. And then the other one that I always think of anytime we're ever talking about having a hard conversation, work, kids, whatever, a spouse, parents, people that you really care about, is always thinking about having that conversation with love in my heart, right? So, because so many of our hard conversations are hard, right? Like we have to tell somebody that they're no longer have a job with us. We have to tell somebody that they are no longer on our team. We have to tell somebody something that is going to impact them desperately, right? Like, they're not going to have a dog anymore. Whatever these hard conversations are, we have to be able to say, okay, how could I say this in a way that shows that I love this other person very much or care very much about them if they're a coworker, whatever it is. And someone said to me one time, well, what if I don't? Like, what if I don't really care about that person? And my question was, then why are you having hard conversations with them? Why are you having this really difficult conversation if you don't care about the person? Like that, let's ask that question first and then figure out how to move forward. I think, excuse me, I think those two things together, really, if you have the time to stop and then also really leading with love, I think can be game changers.
That's fabulous. And in Thoughtfully Fit, we always, in every episode, we try to reinforce the core. And what you just said, it beautifully aligned with the core of Thoughtfully Fit. Like, take a moment to pause and give yourself the time to think, how do I want to set this up? How do I want to show up? What's going to help me? And then I heard you say, act with love and with compassion. Oh, that's so beautiful. So this is like, and to say, why are you investing your time in a relationship that you don't care about? It's not like choose your battle, which is one tip I would say when you think about dealing with sticky topics, like think about where do you want to be investing your energy? Are there other tips you have for dealing with sticky topics, either personally as a mom or professionally?
Yeah, I think that, obviously the stopping is the best way to be able to say, okay, how do I want to address this? And then if you are having a hard conversation, even if it's like, let's say you're having a hard conversation about politics, you're having a hard conversation about, someone, you're having a harassment conversation at work, for example, like if you are having this hard conversation, you still need to lead with love and you still need to take a minute and think about how you want to present that. You can't just have these random conversations. And if you're having those hard conversations, again, if it's not someone that you care about, then probably it's not worth your energy. Like you said, worth the energy. It's not worth if it's something you feel passionate about and you're having a hard conversation about it, but you don't care about that person, then stop. Like that's like an internet troll kind of like way to do it, right? Like, why are you even having that conversation if they don't matter to you? So it just isn't worth the time. It's not worth the energy. Let me think. As far as like dealing with sticky topics, I know that that at work, of course, it's a little bit different because you have to be careful about things you say in a different way. And you have to be careful with your children in a different way. You have to be careful with a spouse. But I still think a lot of these things can apply. And I still think that the Thoughtfully Fit core still applies. It always applies. It applies. You can pause, think, and act at home. You can pause, think, and act with your partner. You can pause, think, and act with your favorite coworker, your best friend, or your entire team that you're going to do a big presentation in front of. And so I think all of those things are really helpful too.
Yeah. And I'm curious, and I don't know if this might be too hard to put you on the spot. And so feel free to say that we need to follow up on this, but you had talked about the interviews you did, and you said that you found that some some moms handled the stress and the chaos and of the unpredictability of life and chaos and COVID better than others. And then there are 16 things. Is there anything that from your experience and research that you found was unique from the moms who handled that well to those who didn't?
Yeah, I really think confidence is a big one. Confidence is one of the key secrets. So that's one of the things that comes very early in the book. And confidence is an incredibly important factor in having a hard conversation. Because if you're walking in and so let's say it's someone at work, let's say it's a release situation, right? You've got to tell someone they no longer have a job with you, right? And you go into that conversation not confident, then that could go very wrong. The conversation could go very wrong. It is much easier to have a hard conversation if you're confident in the way that you can do it, even if it's scary, even if you know it's going to be painful, even if you are terrified, even if you have been crying before it and you know you're going to cry after, even those things, that confidence, that inner knowing that you can do this and that you will come through on the other side has huge implications everywhere, but I think especially in hard conversations.
So this I mean, and this doesn't have to be from research, this is just to be from you and me talking. Like, I'm imagining somebody who is watching or listening to this saying, yeah, that's great. Of course you need confidence. But if you don't have it, how do you get it?
Yeah.
Right? So it kind of leads to this question of how do you train those mental muscles for tough conversations? How do you build the confidence to deal with those sticky conversations, those tough things?
Do it. And that's so it seems so easy to say, but the more you do the thing, the more you take the itty bitty baby step to do the thing, the more confident you'll be. The more you prove to yourself that you can, the more that yourself knows that you can, right? So I'm not talking about tomorrow, it's time to have a release conversation, go to HR and you're going to fire your next person. No. I'm talking about if there's something that's not going well on a team that you're on, and you can have a small conversation with one person, that builds that toughness. It builds that confidence and says, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Okay, I actually feel like I'm closer to that team member than I was before. And it was because of a sticky situation. It was because of a tough conversation. And so I think that those little bitty, itty bitty baby steps, that practice really can get you to a point where you do feel more confident in those bigger conversations, those way harder, much larger, more painful topics that you have to talk through.
Yes. And I mean, it's just what you're underscoring as you're talking. When we were talking about the core, you said you have to be able to pause. You got to stop. You got to think. But then you have to act. You need to go and actually have the conversation and then pause again and think and reflect. How did that go? And what might I want to do differently next time?
Yes, because so many people, don't you think that so many people, they do the pause, then they think about it, then they pause again, and then they think about it some more, and then they pause again, and they think about it, and they never get to the act point. And the acting is what builds that confidence. The acting is what builds that skill set so that you can come back and say, okay, now I'm going to pause about what did happen.
Yeah.
Let me think about it. And do I need to act again? Or how will I act differently next time?
Yeah. And what I love about what you said is you practice it, you do it, and you build that muscle, and you get more confidence by doing it. And in particular, one of the things you said, I found fascinating, that you can actually come out of that tough conversation more connected with a deeper relationship. And it made me think about an experience I had. I won't go in the details, but a product that I had bought for cross-country skiing. And I was really frustrated because it was defective. And I was ready to be posting in all my private groups and don't buy this, And I went to the store and I brought it back. And I said, this is really frustrating because I have a high regard for your product. And what they did next made me a super fan, right? They didn't just return it and give me my money back. They actually made it right. They actually got curious. They gave me a replacement. I mean, it was just like, what went from being an awful situation, and I was already just a fan, I became a super fan. So when you were talking about, if you have the confidence and the courage to go have this tough conversation, and you do it with love, and you prepare by pausing to think how you want to show up ahead of time, you can come out of that with a better relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, I can think of situations where I've had to have tough conversations with clients, and that client then loves you, right? Like now you are the top of that client's list because they trust you. They know that you have their back, and I can think of all the ways that you could do that with a partner, with kids. I know that if you can do a hard conversation with love, that you can come out on the other side even better. I know it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with me, and I've seen it happen with other people.
So powerful. So Lori, if people want to learn more and they want to dig in and they want to become a super mom or learn the rest of the secrets, where can they get more of you?
Yes, absolutely. So secretsofsupermom.com is my website, and truly everything is there. The book is there. You can see the link there. The planning party is there. We have that on Monday. Really, you can go get the podcast episodes there. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn as well at Secrets of Supermom. So super, super easy to find. And I would love for folks to reach out if they have any questions. I love, love, love talking about all of these things.
That's awesome. And you have a quiz, and you also have an awesome workbook that is a download that's for free. All of that is on the website. So yeah. That's great. Lori, thank you so much for joining us today. Where are your 4 kids right now?
They're all at school. Everyone is actually in physical school right now, all together. Same school, if you can believe it. For 3 years, I get them to be in the same school. It's mind-boggling. It's amazing. It's like the best thing ever.
Oh my gosh. And will that happen again?
That will be, these 3 years will be this was the first. I've got 2 years ahead of me, and then that will be the only time ever that they're all in the same school. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, you clearly are a super mom, and thank you so much for stepping away from the chaos and joining me today for Thoughtfully Fit Thursday.
This was so good, Darcy. Loved it so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Check out Secrets of Supermom. And if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and share it with somebody else. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.